Dirty Moors still attempt to infiltrate the order. Active Moors are troops that take it to the corners. Across highways, past hedges and through borders. Move on dirty Moors like broken down waters. Watch out for agents and provocateurs trying to get next to their heads with the doctor's cures. They never pay dues and don't pay dues, contradicting with King Alfred. They give news like news. Noble Drew Ali died from Palemore blues. Prophet saved him his money before the floor fell through, and that's true. Even though I don't have proof, self memory tells me don't fall for fools. Drop mental nukes, hang 'em from their own vine from the fig tree. Looking up at 'em like Big B. No white flag or mercy for you fags. 5-point and pentagram is on our flag. Green, but not for cream. That dirty Moors took to throw off the balance of the Grand Treasury books. Getting offers like high school ballers. Those that infiltrate are not Moors but robbers. Robbing the people blind, deaf, dumb, and crippled. They can't tear this up, not one drop or trickle. No matter how hard they try to perpetrate the fraud, dirty Moors always fall on their sword. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists. The Noble Drew Ali started profiting. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists. The Noble Drew Ali started profiting. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists. The Noble Drew Ali started profiting. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists. The Noble Drew Ali.
Islam and greetings, Moors. Pardon me. Welcome back to another episode of Pardon the Interjection. This is going to be a little short, sweet one. I just want to bring some attention to the family. Here on Pardon the Interjection, here on Pardon the Interjection, I'm looking on this information. It's really, really good, y'all. Here on Pardon the Interjection, we dig up information to divulge to the people in the upliftment of fallen humanity. And yes, we have fallen, but we're getting up and waking up to the truths that has not been handed down to us. I want to give high honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali and all the active Moors and non-active Moors. You better get active. I want to go over a letter, and there's a couple goodies or jewels that I've acquired in the last couple degrees or days here. And this one, pardon me, is particularly good. And watch out for the next one, because the next one is even better. I want to go into this letter I see in front of me, and it says 1928 C.E, 1933 C.E, corresponding years, okay? Pardon the interjection. And it continues with the U.S. Bankruptcy and the Moors. Even have a number on the side, 204-552800002. And it reads, the purveyors of so-called white supremacy were just walking along, minding their own business, suppressing, destroying, and / or misrepresenting the truth about history. Moors history in particular, when out of nowhere came the savior for the fallen people, that they had extinguished the light and life within. His appellation is Noble Drew Ali. Having traveled the world, Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, obtained knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and overstanding into the many truths that the oppressors were working so hard to hide. After detecting our true identity as Moors and our true history as possessors of the oldest artifacts and burial sites in what has been misnomered as the so-called Americas, as opposed to the lies the so-called white supremacists was spewing forth. All blacks, in parentheses and brackets, were brought to the Americas by us to be our slaves, is the misnomer and lie. Pardon the interjection to continue. Noble Drew Ali implemented a series of actions to begin the process of resurrecting our people from the comatose and dead levels. These efforts culminated in the re-emergence of the Moors as a community in the sense of a body politic that was gestating and rebuilding into a nation once again. In 1928 C.E., the Pan-American Conference was held in Havana, Cuba. Secretary of State Hughes went down to represent the United States, and Prophet Noble Drew Ali went down to represent the Moors. Pardon the interjection. Now, we gotta really think about that. We gotta really think about that, people. They say the representative for the United States, which if a brother's claiming, and we're making an actual claim that we are Moors and this is our land, the so-called government U.S. or the company owners, because that's all it is a company. It's not the land, it's a company. U.S. is a company. That's a known. Now, if it was not a fact that we are Moors and this is our land, why would Prophet Noble Drew Ali have a spot to go down to Havana, Cuba? Think about that, Moors. Think about that. If it was just fake and not real, he went. And pardon the interjection. And we continue. At that conference, the mandate for the land mass, a greater Amexem, North, Central, and South Central Amexem, misnomered as the North, Central, and South Americas, was returned to the Moors. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew what this meant and what the ramifications of this was and is. Several stopgap measures were taken by Prophet Noble Drew Ali to secure the Moors in brackets birthright, inheritance, and beneficiary interest as Moors to the land mass within the aforementioned land mandate. The actions of Noble Drew Ali were detected by the so-called white supremacists, and they immediately proceeded to act to do all they could to impede his work and take him out. Pardon the interjection. Pardon me. Now you really got to look at that, y'all. You really have to look at that. Got to look at that, okay? It's a man. Now, this. If we go back to the top of this paper, right? We go to the back top of it. It has numbers. 2045. Pardon me, I had a little technical difficulty there, a little glitch, but we're going to come right back into where we left off. We left right here, and we're just going to go back to the preceding second paragraph of this letter. And I wanted to say before, when I say pardon the interjection, I want to go back up to show you that it has a number at 204-552-80002. So this is actually filed somewhere, someplace. This document is filed. And pardon the interjection, and we continue. Fortunately, natural law governs all events. Thus, by the time the oppressor made his move on Noble Drew Ali, pardon me, pardon me, Noble Drew Ali had already put things in motion. This scared the international bankers because land and labor is where your wealth comes from in the carnal world, and Noble Drew Ali had just yanked all the land from so-called Alaskans to so-called Argentina out from under them. Pardon me, it says, as the paper is cut off here, and I'm thinking it says, oh, okay, well it's cut, but it's all good. Pardon the interjection. To so-called Argentina, out from under them, even though we, the Moors, as a community, was mentally comatose at that time. The international bankers recognized that the potential for our instant return to our place of prominence on the global scene existed. Thus, the international bankers recalled all of their loans in a panic, which in there put a squeeze on their stock market, which caused its collapse 2 months after the assassination of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Nevertheless, the so-called European on both sides of the Atlantic knew that their system was and is existing and functioning on borrowed time. They also realized that the length of that borrowed time is directly tied to the length of the Moors' ignorance, lack of knowledge of self, our history, our culture, and what is rightfully, justly ours. This fact has compelled the so-called white supremacists to do all that is possible to keep the undeclared mentally comatose Moors from ever waking up and reclaiming all that rightly belongs to our people, and at the same time keep the rank and unsuspecting so-called Europeans from finding out what is really going on. Noble Drew Ali works as a result of what transpired at the Pan American Conference, touched off a flurry of, I can't read that, it's cut off, ferocity or whatever, on both sides of the Atlantic, because the so-called European from both sides of the Atlantic knew what was going to happen as a result. The actions of Noble Drew Ali caused the so-called Europeans to assemble themselves to conspire a plot, a way to deal with what they thought would be the re-emergence of the Moors, to whom their respective countries contributory to, as they always have been, the U.S. and the Barbary Powers by David McRitchie, written in the 1800s CE. Documented facts. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew that the time of the Moors' resurrection had not come, and knew that his days were numbered. In fact, Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated, "It will take you Moors 50 years to figure out what I have done. What I have done is not for you Moors, but for the third and fourth generation from now. There will be new Moors that will come with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing, and they will set you old Moors in the back and carry out my law." The so-called European was horrified at the potential of our people rising 71 years ago, yet Noble Drew Ali knew our minds were not ready then. Nevertheless, the so-called United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Portugal convened in Geneva, Switzerland for 5 continuous years, 1928 to 1932, to set up what would be the policy of all of the participating countries. These 5 years of meetings became known as the Geneva Convention. In 1930, C.E., the so-called United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Portugal all declared bankruptcy. Any attempt to obtain the minutes of the 1930 Geneva Convention are futile because they published the volumes of minutes for every year. The Geneva Conventions, including 1930, but refused to make the 1930 CE minutes available to the public because they contain the evidence of the bankruptcy. So pardon the interjection. This Geneva Convention was recorded, but they won't let you get the minutes of it. Because it proves what? It proves what? That the international bank is running amok. But the time is up because Moors are waking up. Pardon the interjection, and we continue. Going into 1932 CE, the aforementioned states stopped meeting in Geneva. In 1932, Franklin Roosevelt became the United States U.S. president, and his job was to put into place to put in place and administer the bankruptcy. Pardon this, the paper is weird, but I'm alright. And place and administer the bankruptcy that the United States had declared 2 years earlier and hide the bankruptcy from the unsuspecting public by establishing a reorganization plan, the New Deal, administrative state that functions under the color, in quotes, of the United States of America. Now, pardon the interjection. Anything that's color is colored, is fake, it's not real. It's a simulacrum, black, like that. Pardon the interjection, and we continue. Okay. The United States of America and the United States for America, along with the United States states Constitution, became defunct from that moment, and all that remained was the insolvent, bankrupt, for-profit corporation known as the United States in all capital letters, codified and documented in Title 26 of the Code of the Federal Regulations, Section 1.911-2H, in Re Mariam 36 NE 505, New York 479, upheld by the 16th South Circuit, 1078. See also 16 Statute 419 and District of Columbia versus, then it goes on, Class 103 U.S. 705, operating a democratic military venue. Pardon the interjection. Now this is some why people won't just go study this. Just go look this up. Just go read this. Go find it. It's there. It's there. Moors, pick it up and go look at it and see. The Prophet Ali brought us in on a raft. It's a motorized raft. That a motor that never even from this side of the earth plane. All you gotta do is get on it and just navigate through the sea of bullshit. The prophet, that's what the prophet brought you. All you gotta do is get on it and think. You know how you like you get in and here we go. Think. All you gotta do is get on it. It'll go. You just gotta navigate it. Islam. Partner interjection. And we continue. Under martial law, War Powers Act in brackets, and the Unified Commercial Code, Hebrew Commercial Law, which is Yahudi, partner interjection. The so-called states all revamped their local constitutions by 1938 to take into account their capitulation to the bankrupt mother corporation doing business as the United States, thus declaring the Way for the Buck Act of 1940, allowing the corporate United States to extend its jurisdiction and by default usurp all sovereignty over the now defunct states' republics. Getting back to Roosevelt, he was sworn into the United States presidency in January 1933 and wasted no time getting started with the bankruptcy. Roosevelt immediately shut down the banks, calling it a bank holiday, and proceeded to pull all of the gold out of circulation while replacing it with a debt currency / tender / IOU with the Moors seal. Partner interjection. Y'all just hear that? You hear that, right? I want you to get this. If you can get it. But y'all hear that? The Moors seal, the pyramid with the all-seeing eye on the back of the United States dollar bill / Federal Reserve note, which we know is not a bill. A dollar. We all know that it's not a dollar. Alright? Partner interjection. And we continue. The Clock of Destiny, Book 2 by C.M. Bay on page 6 states, the Amazon Redskin White Moors progress was undermined by the circle of the planets it's a little faded. The Amazon Redskin White Moors progress was guided by the circle of the planets Jupiter and Mars from 1789 CE to 1933 CE, a period of 140 years. Mars passes through the 12 signs of the zodiac 72 times, and Jupiter passes through the 12 signs of the zodiac 12 signs in 140 years. Thus, from 1789 to 1933 spell the rise and fall of Rome on a universal scale. In brackets, take note of the fasci symbols on both sides of the speaker's podium in the United States Congress. House of Representatives, I think that is. Keeping in mind that the first 8 presidents were Moors. Partner interjection, and that's a fact. Then that's a fact. You can look it up. The first 8 presidents were Moors. Copper tone people. And they were in power, partner interjection, and we continue, and they were in power from 1776 to 1789, when the keys of power was transferred into the custodialship of the mystic Turks, the so-called European Masons and Shriners, that the Moors charged with the duty or responsibility of protecting our sacred shrine. New Jerusalem / Washington, D.C., and our sciences until we as a people arose from our state of spiritual, moral, and ethnical decay and awakened from our slumber to reclaim all that rightfully belongs to us from their custodianship. The ninth President, United States, or U.S. President George Washington, was a Grand Master Mason under the tutorage of Emmanuel Mu Ali bin Bey, Benjamin Banneker. George Washington was the first and U.S. President and Grand Master Mason. Franklin Roosevelt was the last so-called European president to rule in that 140th year cycle. Roosevelt knew that he was the last to rule in the 144-year progressive cycle of Roman universal influence when he established a new order or New Deal idea and broke the Roman order by ruling for 12 years, which is the measurement of man. When Roosevelt was given those famous fireside chats, he knew what was taking place. Pardon the interjection, and it's a hold on, pardon. Oh, it just, pardon me, it just cut off there. I don't know why, but it just cut off right there. And let's see, it has another paper there. It just end off right there. And then there's page 3 or the beginning. It says, gradual return of the keys of power to the rightful owners, the Moors. Everything that was taken from us Moors is quietly being prepared for its eventual return to us Moors. The gold, the U.S. is tributary to the Moors, and they have to pay a $25 million in gold loan that was made to the U.S. government in 1861. That the U.S. Congress is responsible to pay, which is why the seal of the Moors is on the back of the U.S. one-note currency tender IOU. And all of the land was taken, and so-called whites were reduced from landowner status to mere land user status. The land they murdered my ancestors for and stole so that they could fraudulently provide their silent cohorts, their people, with fraudulent land grants, land patents, and allodial titles that those thieves and their descendants have no spiritual, moral, or ethical right to. The same applies to Kenya, Zimbabwe, so-called South Africa, Australia, etc. Yet they claim they are a God-fearing nation. If this is so, the doctrine of discovery from the Vatican, which is still in force, will cease to exist effectively immediately. If this is so, then the so-called whites will gradually return our lands, repay the loan we made to them, make recompense to us for the Tuskegee Airmen, or the Tuskegee experiment, Emmett Till, Morris Bishop, the Berlin Conference, and way too much to list here. But don't worry, we will get to that too. To be in honor, to be in harmony with the God, the so-called European claims to love, honor, respect, and obey. Okay, this is something that, pardon the interjection, this is something that's I know it's another paper. The United States is bankrupt and its sovereignty is gone. The courts in the United States, or U.S., and the states are not solvent. Thus, the courts and prosecutors cannot have nor bring a claim against anyone because, as a bankrupt entity, it has no authority to operate. Therefore, the courts in the U.S. and the states cannot and will not resolve any issues. Technically, there are no more courts in the U.S. and the states. There are only private corporations doing business as quasi-courts with magistrates and administrative judges. An administrative judge is not the same as a judge, in parentheses. The U.S. bankruptcy is expressed in Franklin Roosevelt's Executive Order number 6073, 6111, and 6260. See U.S. Senate Report 93-549, pp. 187, 594. Under Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, codified as United States Code Title 12, Section 95A, House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5, 1933, confirmed in Perry v. U.S. 1933, case site 294 U.S. 330-381, and United States Code Title 31, Section 5, 5112, and 5119. United States President William J. Clinton and his staff, as well as his successors and U.S. Speaker J. Dennis Hastert, it's cut off right there, but I can check it out later. But it's United States Speaker J. Dennis Hastert are well aware of the reemergence of the Moors on the global scale in the form of the Amexem Moor Empire. All of the aforementioned parties know that the day their successors return the keys of power to the original and legitimate owner, the Moors, is rapidly approaching. The Amexem Moor Empire, national, regional, and local government is on scene, fully operational and ready to govern by and under the power, authority, and permission of the superb and supreme divine creator of all things. And we have, this is our social security for the 21st century. I ask you to read the trust chart and see how it unfolds. We need the unity of the Moors. It is time, Moors, calling all Bays, Els, Alis, and Days. Peace. The Express Trust Written Chart. There are 6 instruments used by the trustee to establish the legal existence of the Express Trust created by the trustor, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in 1928 for the benefit of Moorish Americans. Okay, I'm gonna cut it off right here and save that for the next one. Alright, and it gets good. Wow, this is amazing. It gets let me just read a little something, right? 1. A certified copy of our authority. A Torren, TORREN system registration, in parentheses, an abstract of title, made directly from the Recorder of Deeds, Office of Cook County, Illinois. Then see Smith Hurd, Illinois Anointed Statute, Chapter 32, Section 165, 170, and 182. Under Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution of the United States, this instrument must be given full faith and credit by the Circuit Court for Prince George's County, Maryland, as official public acts of another sovereign state. And I'm here in the District of Columbia, but Maryland is right up the street, so and I used to, domicile in Prince George's County, so I had a run-in with them. Let me put it like that. The ones you see partner interjection, the ones you see on mine, when I say Maryland or Moreland, that's Prince George's County. That's so-called Prince George's County. They want to say, pardon me, but I told them no, it's Anacostia territory. So we're partner interjection. This deed, and we continue. This deed has been on record for over 30 years and coming from a natural and reasonable official custody. Therefore, it comes under the ancient document rule. Okay, and I'm not going to go into 2 and 3 and 4. I'm going to save them for later, but that's just wow. This is really, really good, y'all. So I'm going to save this second part for the next one I'm going to put out there, alright? But it's really good. Like I say, don't believe me, family. Go. Check it out. And you'd be amazed at the jewels you'll find on your treasure hunt. Moors, these are jewels. These are jewels that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali left us. You know how you pass down your heirlooms to your children? This is the ones that you pass down to your babies. Trust me, I know I have babies. And it makes me feel good that I can pass these jewels down to them. And when I make my transition to go be with the higher council on the other side of the earth plane, I know that my children would love these jewels, love these heirlooms right here that I'm giving, I just want to say I love you, Moors. As I say all the time. Until next time, stay safe. We're going to come back with a part 2 of this. U.S. Bankruptcy and the Moors. Islam, love, and peace forever, Moors.
I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I'm going at dirty rappers, lynching dirty Moors too. Hiding literature that Drew wrote to warn you. They claim to make you Muslim and make you sovereign. With paperwork and filings, it's fiat, they robbing. They don't care about his words, throw it out like garbage. Or throw it at you when you're active, not passive. When they wanna talk a bounce like off a trampoline mattress. Treat them like a vamp or a teen actress. Get stabbed with a brand like a mean savage. This inquisition's divine, all others average. Millennium Renaissance, heroes in our classes. Fed up with the czar controlling fascists. Ask if they heard about Moors, they say no. But Masons, they obviously know. Down the handshakes and rituals with skull and bones. They even know about owls burning in Bohemian Grove. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. Dirty Moors killed Drew. I read the FBI papers on loyal Moors, emergency fund rapers, Moorish literature and divine bylaw changes. Might as well say Drew Ali was born in a manger. Prophet puts poison aside and his food smelled danger. Got me treating every Moor like a stranger. Grand Sheik Punkin stumbling drunk in their fairs. What was proclaimed for every meeting was not read. Some Moors are so active, Prophet can't be dead. Thanks Moorish teachers away, I can't be led. Actions speak, then I consider what's said. And what's said was study, then study yourself. Honest to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. Everybody wants to be just like Drew Ali, but nobody wants to care about Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did. I know what Dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what Dirty